Well, Dr. Cass Ingram, author of books including The Wild Berry Cure and more than a dozen other books on nutrition and disease prevention, including The Cure is in the Cupboard and The Miracle of Wild Oregano. He's an invited guest on thousands of radio and TV programs over the past 2 decades. He is one of North America's leading experts on the health benefits of wild berries, wild spices, and their extracts. His latest book is called The Body Shape Diet, and it asks the question, are you an apple, a pear, or a carrot? It says your hands, your face, and your figure tell all about how you can improve your metabolism, nutrition, and hormonal status. It says the book helps you determine your metabolic type, which he says is the secret to better health. Now, Dr. Ingram's research has led to countless cures and discoveries. He travels all over the world promoting perfect health the natural way. He's been on this program many times to talk about those books I mentioned, The Wild Berry Cure, The Cure is in the Cupboard, and The Miracle of Wild Oregano. So now let's talk about what a lot of people are talking about at the beginning of every new year to try to get back into shape. Well, what shape are you? Apple, pear, or carrot? The book is The Body Shape Diet, and joining me on the phone line is Dr. Cass Ingram. Dr. Ingram, welcome back to the program.
Hi there, Mr. Wade. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's great to have you back here. How you feeling? How's your new year going?
Just terribly good, but I kind of know what my type is. So, I want to protect myself so I don't kick the bucket too early and all that.
Okay, well, let's talk about this book, The Body Shape Diet, and whether you're an apple, pear, or carrot. What does that all mean?
Well, that's a big deal. You could just look in the mirror and see what your hormone situation is. All right, if you're an apple shape, that means you're a thyroid type. Now, that's a half apple, not a whole apple. You just slice the apple in half.
Right.
And I'll tell you in a minute. Then if you're a carrot shape, it's more of an adrenal type, or a watermelon shape also. Mm-hmm. And in terms of being long in the waist area and stuff. The carrot, of course, the butt end of the carrot is going down in that type.
Okay.
And then there's the pear shape.
Okay,
And the pear shape is your pituitary type.
Ooh.
And you can have combinations, but you don't just look at the body in the body shape diet. You also look at the hands.
Okay, right? Let's talk about the hands. What should we be looking for with our hands?
Well, Mr. Wade, if we put our hands down on the table,
okay, and
we looked at the index finger versus the ring, okay, the first finger versus the fourth finger.
Gotcha.
If it's a thyroid type, now not all thyroid types are apple-shaped, but if that's the main propensity, the index finger is shorter than the ring. We call that thyroid to normal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the more rare adrenal type, then the first finger is like the same length as the ring finger, or longer.
Really?
Yes, and it's real. And if you're a pituitary type, usually the fingers are a little bit short. Hands are small for the size of the body. Feet are small for the size of the body. Head is small. Little head, little feet, little hands, but big, wide pair. And I'll tell you what, you can just look at the head, too. If the head itself is like rectangular, or the forehead's like rectangular with furrows,
okay,
that's more of a thyroid type.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's round, it's more of an adrenal type, or more of a pituitary.
Mm-hmm.
Or if the chin is thin and there's receding chin, the chin kind of goes backwards and the lower teeth are crowded, that's adrenal. Well, what difference does it make?
What if you have more than one chin?
Double chin is pituitary.
Okay.
Yeah, usually.
All right.
And they have a fat pad on the back of the head, too. The double chin people.
Right.
Like the W.C. Fields?
Yes.
No, not W.C. Yeah, him.
No.
But also Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill, okay,
He was a pituitary type.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what difference does it make? It makes a big difference. Because if you're a type and you eat wrong, you could have a heart problem that could get worse.
Right.
Like if you were a thyroid type and you just loved loads of potatoes and lots of bread, and we didn't, that could goof up your circulation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an adrenal type and you just couldn't get off of sugar and chocolate, it's going to goof up your adrenals, which makes you more vulnerable to Well, disease processes, I guess.
So this is all about identifying your type so that you know what you should and shouldn't eat.
Yep, exactly. And you might be doing totally the wrong thing for your type.
Mm-hmm.
You're a thyroid type, and you're trying to do a lot of complex carbohydrates. There's a history of heart disease. You're stupid. You should be eating fat and like greens and and seafood, and you shouldn't be having a lot of potatoes and a lot of grains.
Right.
Well, you're not. Now, if you're an adrenal type, God bless you, and you're eating a lot of really high sugar things like donuts and candies and cookies, and then you're hitting the chips, and then you go back and hit some more sweets, and then you go back to the Cheetos, that's going to just ruin your adrenals. Then you get chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia maybe, and you could end up with sort of just chronic illness, mental, panic attacks, irritability, anxiety. But it's not just that. Another thing about type is weight loss. Okay?
Okay.
If you know that you're a thyroid type, which is a half of an apple, which means that the apple gets bigger as you go down towards the bottom of the waist, and then the butt's flat. I mean, the derriere, there's no derriere. And then the weight's on the front of the thighs and on the front of the belly, but the bottom is flat. Isn't that weird?
That's kind of weird, yeah.
Well, if you're that kind of a type and you want to lose weight, you actually have to do the low carbohydrate diet. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's the dark green salads and things like steamed broccoli with butter, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and then organic meat and seafood, poultry. Then you'll lose weight. If you're a pituitary type, then you have to do more with lots and lots and lots of salads, berries, as well as some seafood, some lean meat maybe, lean turkey or something like that, white fish, and then you'll lose weight. So, I mean, it's about...
So you have the adrenal type, the pituitary type,
and the thyroid type.
And the thyroid type.
And then you have combinations.
Okay.
Like you could have... A person could be listening right now, oh, well, Dr. Ingram's not saying my type. Oh, because one of their hands one way and one's the other.
Okay.
They're kind of in between.
Yeah.
And instead of having a short index on both hands, one hand has a short index, and the other one has one that's about even with the other, with the ring finger.
So what do you do then?
Well, you do a combination of the dietary advice in the body-shaped diet. You do a combination of the supplements. You do a little bit of the adrenal thing and a little bit of the thyroid thing.
So, Doctor, is this something that's been around for a long, long time?
Yes, in 1930 there was the ectomorph, endomorph, and mesomorph. Sheldon's body types was studied over 1,000 people for 30 years at Harvard University. This is not some kind of conspiracy to come up with a diet book.
Because we all know there's too many diet books out there already.
There are.
I mean, you must have known that going into this, thinking.
Yeah,
I mean, you've
never put the word diet on a book before.
No, you've written some pretty interesting books: The Wild Berry Cure, The Cure is in the Cupboard, The Miracle of Wild Oregano. We've talked about that on this program, all these books. And when I heard that you were doing a book called The Body Shaped Diet, I thought, uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
Why are you going down that road, Doctor?
I know. It's almost like I'd rather say eat for your hormones, but no one would understand it. So it is a body-shaped diet because we find out what the type is. Most of the books about the hormone system. There's not much about diet in there as such. I mean, it tells you what to eat nutritionally.
Right.
So we find out first of all we talk about the hormone system, the thyroid, the adrenals, the ovaries, the testicles, the pituitary, and then I explain how you feed those glands. You see, and then I show the pictures of the types, give you a test to see which type you are, if you're an in-between type, and then towards the end there are about 120 recipes.
Okay.
Each recipe is identified which is best for a thyroid type or adrenal type.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting we're talking about this because before you came on the program here, I was talking on the front cover of Reader's Digest. It says, and we were talking about this, how the obesity crisis, how overeating now kills more people globally than starvation.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. The more we eat 3-4 meals a day, snacking, it really puts a lot of pressure on the body.
Yep.
But I'm not interested in diet book. I'm more interested in helping people understand more about their systems.
Mm-hmm.
And their genetics and the way they've eaten in the past. And this motivates you. I mean, you find out that, I'm a thyroid type. That means I'm intolerant to starch. I could be a gluten intolerant. There's so much medical correlation here.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't have anything with like wheat or rye.
Yep.
My metabolism's too slow in my gut. I need to do more with protein. I need to take some seafood to activate my thyroid, or if I'm an adrenal type, if I eat cocoa or donuts or candy, it's going to overstimulate me.
Sure.
If I take a big coffee with a couple of sugar cubes, it's going to rev up my adrenals and wreck me. That's what the book's about.
Yep. And that's what,
unfortunately, you have to call it something.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what sets it apart from the other ones out there. Because doesn't it come down to, I mean, we can talk about how much weight someone's going to lose on a particular diet plan or whatever. I mean, ultimately people go into these things saying, I want to lose weight. But isn't it more, doctor, about not focusing so much on that, but understanding your own body and feeling good? That's
the right approach to take. We should be motivated by, improving our health.
Yes.
We don't care. It shouldn't be this swimsuit contest thing.
Exactly.
We should be focusing on why our system went out of whack. You take 10 people, they eat the same calories, 5 of them become obese. How do you figure? It has to be the physiology.
Yeah.
See?
Dr. Cass Ingram, his latest book is The Body Shape Diet, but we're focusing more on the body shape part than the diet part of it. Let's go to the phones and get some questions for you, Doctor. This is Cheryl. Cheryl, welcome to the program.
Hi there, Wade.
Hi, Cheryl.
Actually, I called in before you threw that question out there.
Okay, that's okay.
So I just have sort of a comment slash question for the doctor. I've been hearing, of course, as everybody else has for years, about the obesity problem with teens and children and adults, but no one, well, not that I know of, I haven't heard of anybody mentioning the factor of taking antidepressants or antipsychotic drugs.
Yeah.
And that seems to be on the rise, and that can be, put on a lot of weight.
I'm going to tell you about that right now.
All right.
This is a disaster. These children are, that child in, was it Red Deer, Minnesota? What was it? That native kid that went cuckoo on the Prozac or what? And he shot some kids.
No, I don't remember that.
Okay, he was a hypothyroid type. He was a classic thyroid type. And he was on, instead of diagnosing his thyroid, they put him on drugs.
Exactly.
Now, he was a apple-shaped pudgy in the front of the abdomen. And when you're a thyroid type, you get only 10% oxygen use. So you put weight on because your thyroid controls the burning of oxygen in the cells. So there are two issues. One, we're not diagnosing the imbalances in the children, the nutritional deficiencies, B-complex deficiency, hormone imbalance. And then we medicate them, and they get fatter, like you said, because the medications slow the metabolism. So, if a child is depressed, the first thing you have to look at is the thyroid. They never do. It's just completely neglected.
Yep. Glad you brought that up, Cheryl. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
All right, let's talk to Kari out in Camrose. Hello, Kari.
Hi, Wade. How are you today?
Hey, doing very well, thank you. You're on with Dr. Cass Ingram.
Hi, Dr. Ingram.
Hi.
I just have a question about, I don't know if some people call it a glucose high or a carbohydrate high. When you eat a big meal with carbohydrate and you just feel like sleeping for about 3 hours.
It's called the alkaline tide, or, it's a glycemic thing. Yeah.
I'm wondering is it related in any way to body type?
Yeah, it is. Definitely. It's more common in the thyroid type because they can't burn the glucose very well. Okay? So they're the ones that they love that starch.
Yeah.
They'll eat 4 or 5 pieces of bread in a meal. A lot of times it's men. There's the square rectangular head and putting the weight on the front. Potatoes. So they'll get that kind of 1 hour, 2 hour, 2.5 hour post-meal.
Yeah.
On the other hand, a lot of times your adrenal people, they're going to crave the sugar. And also they'll crave the salty snacks. And they might have those plunges. They're the ones who tend to have more of a plunge where they get irritable, headachy, anxious, or just, well, they could even fall asleep. I got to go take a nap, So both types are going to go that route.
Okay, what about the type who gets really irritable when they're hungry?
That's the adrenal type.
Okay.
Now, would that be you?
That's me.
Yeah. Now, I'll bet you anything. Let's take a look at your hands.
Yeah, I was looking when you were...
aren't you kind of an adrenal type by your fingers?
Yeah, well, on my left hand, the ring finger and the first finger are the same length.
Yeah, and on the other, it's a little shorter?
Pardon me?
On the other hand, is it shorter or longer?
On the other hand, my ring finger is very slightly longer.
It's slightly longer.
Yeah.
So then you would be a real adrenal type.
Okay, so what does that mean?
It means, my first guess is that you're adrenal type because of the sound of your voice, because it's kind of sort of a not too slow of a voice.
You can tell by someone's voice what type they are now, too? Really?
Yeah, the first lady was a thyroid type that called.
Okay, we didn't even ask her. But
we didn't ask her, but she is.
Okay.
I'm sure if she looks at her hand, she's going to see a couple of short index fingers. I mean, a short ring finger compared to the index.
Mm-hmm.
No, excuse me, short index in her case, short index. But in this case, we guessed that at least she would be equal on one hand, but on the other hand, her index finger is a little longer than the ring. So that means you're a real adrenal type, and that would account for getting irritable.
Yeah, so what shouldn't Kari eat? Or
Shouldn't eat sugar.
Shouldn't eat sugar. What should she eat?
Don't you crave, sweets and salty snacks?
I prefer the salty, crunchy stuff like popcorn and potato chips and...
So you're doing kind of the right thing in some ways. You're getting the salt into your adrenals, but it's the wrong kind of salty snack.
Yeah, well, I know that I shouldn't eat a whole lot of carbohydrates, but...
Well, you should eat more like olives and chunks of feta cheese, and then maybe some baked chips, but not the potato chips.
Yeah.
How about salty nuts?
Yeah, that's fine.
Almonds, okay.
Yeah. Kari, thanks for the call.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's talk to Elizabeth out in Lloydminster. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, Wade.
Hi, Elizabeth. So say a few words to Dr. Cass Ingram, and he'll guess what type you are.
Okay. Now, I missed the first part of your program, so I really didn't know what type I was.
Okay. Well, there's the choices are adrenal, pituitary, or thyroid, and you can do the hand test.
Well, let me ask you a question. You were tuning in just to the last part. What did you hear about?
Basically, almost when the phone people started phoning in. Actually.
Okay.
All right.
Now, if we looked at your hand, if you're apple shape, it means that you tend to put a little bit of weight on the front of the, weight on the front, but not in the butt.
Yeah, I do put more weight on the front.
On the front with you, right?
So it's on the front with you, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you're a real apple-shaped thyroid type, then you should be kind of in between, but definitely you should have your first finger should be shorter than your ring on at least one hand in you.
So that would make you a thyroid type.
Oh yes, on my left hand, the first finger is shorter than the ring finger.
So at least on one hand. Now we've never seen her before. Now I would guess from the tone of her voice that on the other hand, it's not so obviously short.
No.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Mm.
So that means she's a thyroid adrenal type.
So a combination.
Now, my dear lady, you're not a plant, right?
What's that?
Well, it would mean that I know what you look like and I had you stuck on the show to make me look good.
No. No, you have never met before, have you, Elizabeth?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so some good advice for Elizabeth before we take a break here.
She needs to have a mixed diet where she eats a definitely the salads and fruit and stuff, but more emphasis on fruit with her. More emphasis on salads with low-carbohydrate fruits like strawberries and blueberries and papaya and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Some complex carbohydrates, and definitely some red meat. You should, in your case, you should have some red meat and some seafood.
Okay.
All right. We have to move on, but Elizabeth, thank you for your call. We have other callers on the line. Put the phone down for about 4 minutes. We'll be back. Have a coffee. We're with Dr. Cass Ingram, author of The Body Shape Diet, one of North America's leading experts on the health benefits of things like wild berries, wild spices, and their extracts. And we're giving you some advice here on Life Talk at 780-430-9300 or 1-877-827-2346. Back with more of your calls right after this.